It's a dry day. Then it's supposed to start raining this evening, and then it's gonna rain for a week. So I'm gonna have to do dry day things today. My calendar tells me that I need to seed some flats of green onions. I need to plant out my third succession of Salanova lettuce, and I need to seed another, actually I need to seed a couple of flats of Salanova lettuce. Basil, underlights up here at the house, need to be thinned to 1 seedling. Here I am out of the garden. The garlic is waist high. The migrating birds have left. I've got a few robins, but they're not too destructive. They're over here in my seaweed pile that's supposed to be a potato patch. And I've got my flats of a few starts and stuff over here, and my potatoes sprouting. But I think since we have a dry day, I'm going to pull off the row cover that was there just to keep the birds from scratching around. But then since it's safe now, I'm gonna go ahead and just rip those all off. I'm gonna leave the row cover on my kale and even on my lettuce just because there's moths out and they wanna lay their little spotted cutworms and eat my plants. So yeah, these starts were a little bit dry, so I went ahead and watered them. These are the leeks that are ready to be planted out. This is the chard, which I would have liked to have thinned to 1 seedling, so I'll need to do that. Otherwise, gosh, they're almost ready to plant out too. And then this is the Salanova lettuce, which is scheduled to be planted out. I was supposed to have seeded 2 flats, but I made a mistake. I've been making a mistake and I only seeded 1 flat, so there's that. But they are ready to plant out too, so I'm not sure how I'm gonna handle that. These are my seed potatoes, and I've got them sprouting here. I'm late planting them again, as usual. I've got my soil blocks that I made a few weeks ago. They're all dried out, so I'm gonna kind of get them wet again and try seeing how it works to seed my lettuce and my green onions in those. I'm noticing that the row cover has dew on it still, and it's really wet, so I'm just gonna leave it here till it dries off today and yank it off then. This is where I would be planting out my starts. So this is where the leeks would go. And I seeded this bed right here with spinach. And this is actually where the chard was supposed to be transplanted. So I don't know how that's gonna work. These are the 2 beds that I was trying to suppress the clover. So I probably should go ahead and pull off these tarps. This is where the next successions of lettuce would go. I ended up finding a slug and a crane fly larva, folks. Are you alive, buddy? The tarps did a pretty good job of suppressing the weeds, but I can kind of see that there's some little guys that are just gonna pop right back when they get this light. I need to transplant just like a half bed, a 20-foot section of Salanova lettuce. I only have enough for a 1/4 bed. So I'd like to seed some lofty salad mix, the rest of it, but I can't really do that because of this chunky seaweed on top. So I'm not quite sure how I'm gonna deal with that. That's what I did over here in this bed right here. I've got Salanova lettuce, the end, and then some lofty salad mix. Take a quick look. The lofty salad mix is coming up pretty nicely. I direct seeded with the Jang. Wow, we got lots of flies underneath the row cover. Oh, let's take a look at our kale real quick. Can you see? Little guys are doing all right, looks like. I think maybe what I should start with, since it's pretty straightforward, is to rake out this far bed here and transplant my leeks. Okay, after lunch, I decided to go ahead and pull off the dryish row cover. I've got 4 beds of carrots. Then I have beets in the front, baby chard in the back, and I don't know. The Jang doesn't seed those very good. Then I have a lofty salad mix and spinach. And the bed of lofty salad mix is the worst situation out there. And it usually seeds really easily, and it germinates really good, and it grows great. And by next week, I could have harvested it. I'll look closer at that and talk about that later, but I'm gonna start transplanting leeks because I'm gonna try and get my leeks, my chard, and my lettuce planted today. That is the plan. In the past, I have started my leeks in soil blocks and transplanted them out. This year, I thought I'd try a tub. So I've got my Chinook variety over here. It's a little bit bigger, and then the Bandit variety. I used the 4-row gritter in this bed to mark out where I'm going to plant them, but I didn't run it straight down. I kind of moved it to the side, so I have 7.5-inch spacing, and so I'll do 3 rows instead of my normal 4 rows, just because, you know, this bed isn't raked out as wide as it probably should be. Okie dokie. I'm starting over here by the greenhouses. I'm not sure if I will be able to get a full bed of leeks. Starting to get some sprinkles already, so here we go. It's like getting a piece of pie out of a pie pan. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be a disaster. I'll just use my trowel and just kind of eyeball it. I don't know. 74 times 3, 222 leeks, and it's probably maybe 3/4 of a 40-foot bed. And yes, it started raining, and then the no-see-ums came out. I had to get my bug hat. I've got this chard thinned down to 1 seedling per cell. Some of them didn't germinate. Yeah, I'm just gonna plant these suckers out. Alrighty, so here's my chard, and I just marked the bed with this 2-row gritter, and I just ran it right through my little spinach plants that are coming up here where I'd hoped I'd get some baby spinach. These are 15-inch square spacing, so I'm just going to plant the chard right at the edges here and kind of let it just grow up all together. 31 plants times 2, 62 plants total of chard. Some of these little fellers are not much bigger than the spinach coming up. Now normally I undersow with clover under chard and kale, but I figure I've got this spinach coming up, so I'm just gonna let that grow. Next up, I'm going to attempt to grid into this back 10 feet with a 4-row gritter and plant out my lettuce. I've got the lettuce planted at the end here. I had to shovel the seaweed off into the pathway in order to be able to grid it and know where I needed to plant things. I've got the netting pulled back over the spinach and chard that I planted. I pulled the tarp back over these 2 beds to continue to suppress weeds. Not sure if I really should cover that lettuce in the back with some insect netting. I may go ahead and shovel half of this bed and, you know, kind of mix up the soil and then reseed it with lofty salad mix using the Jang tonight. Okay, so I've got this seeded lofty salad mix with the Jang using the XY24 roller, and I've got 5 rows, and I did 0.5-inch spacing. Got it covered up just so the birds don't scratch around, little robin friends. And I've got my 10 feet of Salanova lettuce underneath the hoop, just so the birds don't scratch around. I think the leeks are going to be okay. They've never been bothered in the past. I thought about direct seeding sets of green onions rather than making soil blocks of them. But you know, folks, it's raining. I think I'm done. You'd think that the weather would give me a little bit of a break, maybe like 2 days of dryness to get things going out here, but no, it's just gotta rain and rain and rain. But we did pretty good. We got quite a bit of rain last night, but now there's actually some blue patches up in the sky. It's supposed to rain. Anyway, on to the greenhouses. Let's take a look at this greenhouse first, where we have the cucumbers, etc. The Salanova lettuce over here is about ready to get cut. Got all these ferns growing along the edge, which they're so pretty. I almost might leave them there, but the ones growing over here on this edge shade out the plants in the bed. The orach is doing great. The chard looks fine. Most of my little cucumbers made it, but some of these ones that, like, especially ones that hadn't germinated, you know, I just planted the soil block. They didn't come up. I'll replace the ones that didn't make it, and hopefully these guys transplant all right. I've got my seed basil here, and I don't know how much longer I need to leave these guys. So take a look at this forest. The bok choy is all bolting to seed. It's really supposed to be picked as kind of baby size. I'm gonna eat some, see if it's bitter tasting or if it tastes okay. Not sure what to do about that. I've got my kale patch over here, and the orach is just huge in the front here. This is just the volunteer orach. I can pick some of these for myself to eat. These leaves are ready to go. Yeah. This bed right here where the bok choy is where the basil is supposed to get planted out, and that might be ready to plant out by next week. Yepper doodle. 15 ounces of bok choy. They did a forecast change saying it's supposed to be sun breaks today and just cloudy and no rain. So I got all excited. And I brought my onion seed out here, and then it started raining as the sun is poking out from behind the clouds. Can you see it? Like a big pinch full. And put them in a little spot here. Oh, I wish I had my grid. Where's my grid? I can kind of see my grid. Yeah. Okie doke. I pinched a little soil over the top of the little sets of seed and put row cover over the top so I don't have any birds pecking through here. I only have 2 flats of soil blocks, and I know that I need to do the onions, and I need to do not just 1, but 2 trays of Salanova lettuce that I need to seed. So now that the onion seed is in the ground, I can just use those 2 trays for my Salanova lettuce, which I need to do tonight or tomorrow. Okie doke, I'm pretty happy about my little hoeing results. I knocked the edges of the beds with a collinear hoe, and then I went through each of the pathways with the wheel hoe. Normally I would go through each of these rows, but carrots are so close together, I think I'd yank them out. These have gotten too big to go between. I really need to harvest that chard back there. But I did go between the spinach. This morning, I went into the other greenhouse where I've got the bok choy flowering, and I cut all the flowers off just to see if that'll give me a little bit more time for options to what to do with that before I need to pull it out and plant the basil. Yes, and then I came in here and I cut this south row of lettuce, you know, just to give the cucumbers a little more light. And then on this side, I went ahead and pulled out, you know, or cut back the orach and the chard on the south side, again, to give the cucumbers more light on this side. Plus, I had to go through here and pull out all the ferns and stuff. I left these other ones on this side. We'll see what I do in the long run. And then I transplanted the last, you know, my extra cucumbers in where the other ones didn't make it. And then I kind of watered everything in. I'm always worried that I'm either not giving them enough water or I'm giving them too much water and it's going to rot their stems. So anyway, we'll see how it goes. I hope they all survive. I got to think about getting my potatoes planted. They're kind of like always the stepchild of the garden. They always go in super late because I never have a place for them yet. Anyway, that's it for now, and I'll talk to you guys next week. Our shore pine Christmas tree is got little blooms.